This is the story of the Chattan, the Kallah, the mother-in-law, and the kernel of wheat. There was a young bride and a young groom who got married in the months before Pesach. And when Pesach drew near, they had to decide where they were going to spend the Seder. Now the Chattan, who was a very learned young man, said, "I'm not sure that your family is religious enough for me to trust on the night of the Seder. It's hard enough to trust them all year long, but for the Seder, with reference to chametz and matzah, I'm really not sure." And his wife said, "But how can we say no and not go to my parents and tell them that we don't trust their kashrut?" And so, after much give and take, and pull and push, and masa umatan, the Chattan finally agreed that he and his young wife would go to his in-laws and eat the Seder in their home. Fast forward to the night of the Seder. The Haggadah has been said, the matzah and the maror have been eaten, and the meal is about to be served. And one of the first courses that comes is the mother-in-law's delicious, clear chicken soup. As the soup arrives and the spoons are raised to consume the first delicious mouthful, a shriek comes from the Chattan. "Oh, get out!" And everybody looks at him. "What are you so concerned about?" "Oh, get out! I found a grain of wheat in my soup." And he lifts up his spoon, and sure enough, there is a grain of wheat. And he starts screaming, and his wife starts crying. "I knew we shouldn't have come here. I knew we couldn't trust the chametz and the matzah and the kashrus over here. I knew we should have gone somewhere from." And the mother-in-law starts saying, "What's the matter? I'm not from enough for you." And the father-in-law says, "What are you saying to my wife?" And the chassan is saying, "Let's get out of here." And the wife is saying, "No, it's my parents." And they start screaming until nobody could hear what anybody else was saying. And so, in this state of affairs, they ended up in the living room of the Rav. And the Rav happened to be the Ohev Yisrael, Rabbi Avraham Yoshua Heschel of Apt. And there they were, sitting in his living room, telling the story, still screaming, "What's the matter? I'm not kosher enough for my own son-in-law." "Oh, my mother! Come on, let's get out of here." "What are you talking about? That's my wife you're talking about." And the Ohev Yisrael, seemingly oblivious to what they're saying, fixes his eyes on the beautiful fur shtreimel, the hat that the chassan is wearing, and he gives it a caress, and he touches it and he says, "How soft, how beautiful. Where did you ever get such a beautiful shtreimel?" And the chassan says, "What are you talking about? I got it at the store like everybody else." "Really? I've never seen such a beautiful hat." "What are you talking about hats for? Let's talk about chametz. Let's talk about matzah. Let's talk about in-laws and when they turn into outlaws and the difference between in-laws and outlaws." No, no, no. First you have to tell me, do you wear this magnificent, spectacular hat? Do you wear this shtreimel all the time?" "No, no, no, only on very, very special occasions. I have my regular Shabbos one, and this is my specifically Yom Tov one, and the last time I wore it was, in fact, at my own wedding." And so the Rav says, "Oh, before we continue, I just must see it up close. Could I please see your beautiful hat?" And so, puzzled and grumpy, the chassan takes his shtreimel off and hands it to the Rav, and the Rebbe takes it and gives it a quick twist and shakes it out onto the table. And what should emerge? What should emerge from the shtreimel but a stream of kernels of wheat? You see, the custom among Jews was at that time, even as some today have the custom of throwing rice at the bride and groom, at Jewish weddings they used to throw grains of wheat at them to symbolize some sort of beautiful bracha. But then the last time that the chassan wore this shtreimel, he was wearing the shtreimel that caught all of those grains of wheat. And it wasn't from the kitchen of his mother-in-law that the shtreimel, that the grain came into the soup. It was from his own hat when he tilted his head and got ready to eat his soup. And so the Rebbe said, I think you have some apology that you need to make to your in-laws. You better go home and think of the right words to say to your wife's family. And the thought question that I would like you to answer is, how many lessons can you take out of this short, funny, and yet important story?